So hello, it's the middle of July 2021 and this is my fairly fanboyish review of the Xiaomi Poco M3 Pro 5G smartphone. So the prologue is that this is an old person's review. So if you're a young person watching this, I would keep watching and see what an older person thinks about smartphones. So the first thing to say is that as an IT person, I use this phone. It's a follow-on to my old Nokia smartphone as my backup, kind of working every day, does it all smartphone. This is not the £500 plus Google smartphone that I'm using to shoot this video. It's a £200, pretty good looking, utilitarian, does everything smartphone. And that's why I'm going to recommend it, and we're going to go into a lot more detail. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to unlock the phone. Now it's got fairly aggressive face unlock. I just waddle the phone about. It's looked at my face, it's already unlocked itself. It's actually got the secure biometric unlock, is that fingerprint reader on the side, on the power button. And of course it's running the latest Android 11, so you can have on-body Bluetooth unlock as well. So for example, from my smartwatch could unlock the phone. You'll see it's a huge 6.5 inch screen, which is good for older people whose eyes are tired. It's a 1080 by 2400 pixel phone, so pretty high resolution. It's not an OLED display, but it is, as far as I can see, and I would rate it as a bright display. I always have it set on maximum, so I use more battery life, but hey, look, you see it's absolutely maximum, because why not? This phone does actually come with a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. I mean, it's enormous battery. So the consequences of running it on full brightness and using it heavily are that it's still going to last more than a day. So for me, I just charge the phone when I'm sitting in front of a desk working, or at night. I have a USB-C charging point by my bed. And so all I need to do is to have this phone last one day. And this phone will easily last more than one day. So if people, talk crap about, oh, my phone only lasts 2 days or 3 days, I don't care. If it lasts one day, 24 hours of hard use, that's all that is necessary. So it's got USB-C charging, you can see that there. It comes with an adapter. Again, I'm never going to use that. I just have a USB socket in the wall, or multiple in different places of the house. It also has some other things I'm never going to use. It's got a weird thing called a headphone jack. And it's also got an FM radio, but of course that's only going to work if you use the headphone use the headphone cable as an aerial. So it's got the headphone jack. It comes with, does it come in headphones? Don't know, don't care. But it's got this FM radio function I'm never going to use either. Quite honestly, in 2021, I can't believe everyone is not just using Bluetooth headsets, because they are wireless and they don't get you all tangled up, and there's just so many advantages. So yeah, won't be using that. In terms of cameras, let's look at cameras. You've obviously got a front-facing camera. You've got a whole barrage of rear-facing cameras. But again, are you going to use them? And the answer is no, you're not. And why is that? And that's because this phone is blessed in the sense that it's got a fantastically up-to-date Google camera port. So for those of you that don't know, Google phones have something called the Google Camera app, and although it's only designed to run on Google phones, but since it's open source, people take that source code and make it work on just about any other Android smartphone. And the Google Camera is acknowledged to give you the best photographic results on an Android platform. So this phone has that Google Camera port. I installed it from the .apk file. It's bang up to date. It's got a bazillion features, which I'm not going to go through, but there's literally just so many features you can possibly imagine that you can tweak and twiddle with, and that appeals to me. So I have tweaked and twiddled with about 100 different features on the Google camera just to make it, quotes, even better. And that's my camera of choice. So the Google camera only outputs a 12 megapixel photo. So anything more than that in a lens, a rear lens, you're completely wasting your time. So yeah, it's got a 48 megapixel rear lens, but I've got Google camera installed, and I'm getting 12 megapixel photos, and they're absolutely fine. Again, this is a £200 smartphone. It's not a £1,000 Samsung phone or iPhone. So let's say the photos, yes, on my Google phone are slightly better, but this does a damn good job. In terms of horsepower, I've got CPU-Z installed. I'm sure I have. Yes, I have. This phone has an 8-core processor. So again,
bought by many pet insurance. We know that
no, that's just really not what I wanted to see.
That's why.
Yeah, thanks, AdBot. That's the CPU-Z I didn't buy edition. So back to the plot. We've got an 8-core processor here, and most of the time things are not running at full speed. This is a fantastically powerful phone. It compares very closely with my Google phone, which is now 2 years old. But nevertheless, you're getting for this bargain price a phone with 8 processor cores, and this version has 6 gigabytes of memory. I mean, it's just bonkers. There are 2 different versions of this phone. There's one with 64 gigabytes of storage and one with 128 gigabytes of storage. And I think today, I'm not the kind of person who stores all my photographs on the device. And anyway, this is my secondary phone. But I think 64 gigabytes is a bit small. So for 128 gigabytes, 6 gigabytes of RAM memory, you're going to be paying about £200. And I think that's the model to go for, particularly because this is a dual SIM phone, but you can either have one SIM and an SD card or 2 SIMs. So let's move on to that aspect of the phone. This is a dual SIM phone. Now, in the world, and certainly in the UK, it's almost impossible to use an eSIM. So eSIMs have been around, electronic SIMs have been around for over a year and a half now, let's say 2 years. But no bugger is actually selling you one. It's very, very difficult. It's almost impossible to get an eSIM. Certainly at a commodity price level. You might get them in business phone contracts. So a dual SIM phone is actually a wonderful thing. And if you travel, which again is going to happen after July the 19th, the lockdown disappearing, again, out of this country, what I would seriously recommend is for you to have your UK SIM in one slot, and in the second physical slot, you just go to a local store and buy a local SIM. So that will give you, unlimited data, for example, or local calling without any worries. Especially now, apparently the UK has left the European community. Can you believe it? So I highly recommend a 2 SIM phone. And in fact, in parts of Asia, you practically have to supply a 2 SIM phone, otherwise people, don't take you seriously. But here, in landlocked UK, people are still grumbling along with single SIMs. But this is a 2 SIM phone, and I use 2 SIMs, and shortly be going away, and hopefully, and I will buy a local SIM. So again, very important to me, double SIMs. What else is there to talk about? We've covered the SIM situation. I think the next thing I would say is that I use this phone for network testing. So if you have a look, you will see on the screen in front of you, you'll see we have a number of specialist network programs like Cell Mapper, Cell Monitor, Cell Info, and we've got, that's better there. We've got Huawei Control, specialist Huawei Control. We've got Wi-Fi Locator. We've got Network Info. We've got LTE Discovery. all of these programs are specialist network problems, and they all work fine on this phone. Another thing to say is that this is a LTE Category 13 phone, and LTE categories mean, at best, that you can take more than one of the broadcast bands from a cell phone transmitter, and you can add to the baseband with, say, a carrier aggregation, a CA band. This is an LTE Category 13 phone. The best Samsung phones out there are probably something like Category 20. The best iPhones out there, I think, are 21. And those higher LTE categories allow you to theoretically combine transmitter signals to give you a faster throughput on 4G. Now, in practice, it's very rare, extremely rare, for you to get more than a single band aggregation. And LTE 13 will give you that. So what I'm saying is that this phone is likely to be as fast as the best Samsung S21 phone, because it's very unlikely you're going to get carrier aggregation, a significantly better carrier aggregation. It's possible, but very unlikely. So in all my testing with these different programs, this phone works absolutely fine. And that's, again, important to know. What else have we got with this camera, with this smartphone that I really like? It's running the latest Android 11. It's running, Android 12 isn't quite there yet. There are betas out, not for this phone. I suspect that Xiaomi will never release Android 12 for this phone. So if you buy the phone, unfortunately, you're going to be with last year's version of Android. But the delta to Android 12, there are some look and feel differences, but in terms of functionality, not very much. I mean, from Android 10 to 11, again, it's a bit of a not very much. And again, from Android 11 to 12, again, I would say not that much. So you do get the latest security updates for this phone, but they, again, it's only been released a month or so. The other thing to know is that this is running this MIUI interface version 12. So that's an alternative desktop environment that's not standard Google, and every manufacturer, really, apart from Google and Nokia, tends to put their own launcher and so forth onto the phone. So if I go into settings, for example, you'll see that this interface has got all the same text as the regular Google interface. It just looks different, and there are, apart from looks, a few slight enhancements that Xiaomi have made. So to me, it's a bit annoying. It's not the same as standard Google. The Nokia was. This isn't. But, I can live with it. Other things to look at. Well, going through the specs again, this is a 190-gram phone with a 6.5-inch display. So it's ideal for older people with bad vision. That includes myself. 190 grams is not it's not the heaviest phone, but it's certainly not light. It is a plastic-bodied phone, and it came with a clear plastic case, which was so tight. It was like a really tight clincher tire on a bicycle, almost impossible to get on or off. So I managed to wrestle it off, and I bought an £8, much nicer, nice and smooth, high quality case from Amazon. So apart from your £200 that I'm going to ask you to spend, you might reckon on another £10 for the custom case. I think that's about it. I haven't tested games, not interested. I haven't tested 5G because predominantly this phone will be used in a rural environment where 5G is impossible due to the fact that there's never going to be a transmitter every 500 or 600 meters between transmitters, so we'll never have 5G in a rural environment, ever. And the LTE speeds that I get from 4G, even in this rural environment, are at least 30 or 40 megabits per second. At night time, it was up to 85 megabits per second yesterday, so absolutely fine. It doesn't have Wi-Fi 6, I don't believe. It has wireless AC networking. Again, you can have at least 100 megabits per second data transfer rate. So although it doesn't have Wi-Fi 6, in practice, I really don't think that's a slowdown. So thanks for watching. I rate the phone highly. It's a £200 phone. I go for a 128GB version. It's got dual SIM slots, sub 200 gram phone, massive 5000 milliamp hour battery running Android 11, and it's a very performant and good looking phone. Okay, Dari, thanks for watching, and speak to you soon.